Thank you all for tuning in to Primitive Organic Garden and Guitar today. Just wanted to do a quick video update about some garden vegetable stew, or soup I suppose you should call it. It doesn't have a meat in it, so I guess it's not technically a stew, it's a soup. But the primary ingredient's going to be radishes and turnips, because I just have tons and tons and tons of radishes. In addition to the radishes, we're going to throw some carrots from the garden in there, and a bunch of brassica leaf vegetables, and some garlic and leeks and onion and a couple other things. Definitely a lot of herbs and spices from the garden, oregano and parsley. And we're going to put a small amount of bacon in the pot just for a seasoning. This is literally all the bacon we have to last for the entire rest of the little apocalypse we're in. This is only 12 ounces of bacon. I'm going to try to make this last for, I don't know, a month or so. I'm only going to use probably 25% of this package of bacon. It's important to remember that, traditionally most meats, especially nice, salted meats like bacon that are cured and all that, they functioned more as seasonings than they did, staples or entrees. Bacon's just too expensive to use for anything other than a seasoning. You don't want to be treating it as a main item, but it's a great seasoning, and a little tiny bit of bacon will give this root stew some really nice flavors. So we're just going to get the bacon kind of sauteing at the bottom of this skillet here, saucepan, and let that sit for a couple minutes. And then we're going to start throwing cabbage from the garden on top and some collard greens, and then we'll go ahead and start adding all of our other root vegetables. The carrots are probably one of the last things we're going to add. We also got a potato we're going to toss in here, but we need to make sure all our greens get in here before the potato, because we need to have some moisture, some water in here before we start throwing starchy things like potatoes in here. Nice fat on this bacon. That's really what you want for the seasoning, is some really good fat. And the goal is to get this bacon into as small pieces as possible, but that's difficult, and we don't want to burn ourselves any more than we have to, so. I suppose since we're in the season of hand washing, we'll wash our hands after messing with the raw bacon. Not that I usually do that, but why not today? The next thing we're going to do is chop up all of our leek greens. Yesterday I was cooking with leeks, or maybe the day before. I've been cooking with leeks a lot lately because it's my favorite vegetable, and normally I would save leeks for special occasions, but since I'm not sure if I'll be breathing in 2 weeks, I figured I'd go ahead and harvest a lot of the leeks and live large on leeks for the next couple days or so. If I'm gonna die, at least I want to die with leeks in my stomach. But anyway, a lot of people don't know what to do with leek greens. Leek greens are a little bit tough, but they have a lot of really good flavor in them. So if you learn how to use them, it'll definitely add a lot to your cooking. Probably the easiest thing to do with leek greens is just to use them for soup stock. Just throw whole leek greens into a pot of water or broth and boil it for a little bit, and then take the greens out. But that's going to impart some flavors. But we really want to get the most out of our leeks, so we're actually going to chop up the leeks into small pieces and throw them into the stock pot and just eat them. We'll chop them up as small as we possibly can, and then we're going to boil the soup for a while, so it'll be okay. The leeks won't be the most objectionable texture in this soup, I can tell you that. There's a lot of radishes that are going to be tougher than the leeks are, and are going to require quite a bit of boiling time to make them palatable. So with that in mind, as long as we slow cook this for a couple hours. This is some Savoy cabbage. Savoy cabbage is beautiful. I already harvested the head, Made some corned beef and cabbage with it. These are some of the leftover leaves. The texture is just really interesting. It's got a nice rich flavor too. Now we're dropping some collard greens, broccoli greens, and more Savoy cabbage into the pot here where we got our bacon sizzling at the bottom. We don't want to stir anything up yet because we want to give that bacon at the bottom some time to brown. And notice we won't be draining any bacon grease off of this recipe. All the grease that's coming off the bacon is going to stay in the stew. That's important. I also put quite a bit of oil at the bottom of this pot before I even put the bacon in. So I'm going to make sure this stew has a nice high fat content. So the collards and the leeks and the bacon are going to cook by themselves for about 15 or 20 minutes, maybe a little bit less, and then we'll start to add the turnips and radishes and let that cook for another 30 or 40 minutes. And then the last thing that we're going to add is going to be the carrots. And after we add the carrots and the spices, we'll let that cook for another hour or so at a really low heat, just kind of a low simmer. And this will make enough stew probably for 2 days. We're also going to make some zucchini bread to serve it with. The zucchini bread's going to have a lot of butter and probably some sunflower seeds, maybe some pecans. So the zucchini bread's going to have some protein in it, a little bit of fat. And that'll be our dinner today with this stew. Unfortunately, we don't have any meat to put in the stew today. Soup. Now we're getting to some of our leek greens here. Again, the goal is to get the leeks as small as possible. Kind of like tiny little green onions here, maybe. Such an interesting smell to them. You get the kind of garlicky dominance, but there's also some, spicy, like almost, chili pepper notes in the background. Definitely a little bit of bitterness. These leeks have probably been growing out there for almost 2 years. I kind of keep leeks as perennials. I just throw a lot of shade on them in the summer. Keep them well watered. I just kind of fold them over themselves quite a few times, get them into a nice tight little bundle, and then just cut them up into little strips. I heard leek strips were really good if you dip them in like a batter and fry them. I haven't done that myself. Still have quite a bit of leeks left. Seem to have more than I needed for this particular recipe, but that's alright. I don't want these to sit in the fridge any longer. They've been in the fridge 3 or 4 days already. But it's definitely more leek than I feel like I need at the moment. This is a lot of leeks, and I'm frankly getting tired of this. I wish I were better at video editing so I could just be like, oh, I'll resume the video when the leeks are done, but I'm just probably not going to put all of them in here. It's just a little bit too much work at this point. So we put most of the leeks into this recipe here. Not quite all of them, but definitely most of them. I'm going to resist the urge to put butter in this soup because the zucchini bread's going to have so much butter, and we are rationing butter at this point. But if this were normal times, there would definitely be some butter going into the stew here. So our bacon's not quite as brown as we want it yet. We're still going to kind of let the bacon sit on top and not stir this up too much. Let that sit for another couple minutes, maybe cut up the heat just a little bit. Now we're going to start putting all of our root vegetables in here. The turnips and all the other good things. Gotta make sure this bacon gets back in the freezer very quickly though. I think the worst thing about the apocalypse is that there's not going to be a lot of cooking oil after about a year or two. We go back to like hunting ducks and saving duck fat, I guess. It's not something I'm looking forward to. I really enjoy the luxury of cooking oil. And it's a little bit too hot here for cattle, so we're not going to have a whole lot of dairy. I guess maybe I could try to do some goat butter at some time in the future, but bottom line is, when the apocalypse hits, I'm not going to be able to have nearly as high fat of a diet as I enjoy right now. I mean, I eat a lot of fat. Between sour cream and cheese and olive oil and avocado oil and butter and peanut oil, and I mean, I just have a very, very rich, high fat diet, and that's something that's going to be difficult to sustain, living off the land. We don't even have like fatty fish. Most of our fish are, pretty lean, and most of our game meat's fairly lean, and putting a little daikon radish in here. Well, anyway, I suppose there's no reason to have this video go on for a significant portion of time. We kind of already talked about all the main ingredients in the stew here, and we got bacon sizzling in the stew, and we threw in all of our collard greens and broccoli, and we're going to put a bunch of radishes in the stew. We got tons and tons of radishes and turnips, and we're going to put some carrots in the stew, and we're just going to let that cook for like 2 hours. And we have some oregano from the garden, and some apple mint from the garden, and more radishes from the garden, lots of oregano from the garden. I heard oregano is antiviral. And got some dill. And we're going to save all the greens from the carrots and put all those in the stew, and throw some onion and potato in there. But yeah, like I said, there's no reason for y'all to see this whole 2-hour video, but just wanted to kind of talk about some of the things we're harvesting out of the garden today. And soup always makes me feel a little better on a kind of rainy day. And we've been out there working this morning, shoveling wood chips and planting beans, and we got some work done today. But it's also a nice day to just kind of come inside and cuddle up under a blanket on the couch and drink hot cider and eat hot soup. And I'm gonna make some zucchini bread, and we're gonna try to brown the bread in the oven until the bread gets a little bit, kind of crust-like, and have lots of butter. But anyway, thank y'all for tuning in to Primitive Organic Garden and Guitar today. And sorry I can't sit here and hold the phone for the whole 2 hours while this stew is cooking, but hope y'all enjoyed the video, and hope you got lots of vegetables coming out of your garden. I'm kind of scrambling to harvest all the winter vegetables before they start to go bad, because it's going to be nearly 90 degrees next week. But anyway, hope y'all are doing alright. I've already eaten most of the easy convenient food that I stored up, and I don't have a whole lot of meat left, but that's alright. I'll go on a little vegetarian diet for a month or two, I guess, and probably be healthier for it. But anyway, maybe I'll catch a fish or something, or shoot a rabbit in the garden or something. Probably not. But there's some protein in collard greens. I'm not real worried about it. I got plenty of beans and rice saved up that I can start dipping into. And I'm going to put some sunflower seeds in the bread today. That'll be a little bit of protein too. Protein's kind of an overrated ingredient in my opinion. As long as you got, a lot of vegetables and vitamins and minerals in your diet, it's okay if you don't necessarily have tons of protein all the time. But anyway, cheers y'all.